Forward thinking.
This is Six Figure Mindset. This is a show that showcases top black and brown talent in the corporate world.
Hi everybody, my name is Joy. I currently work in commercial banking focused on digital trade solutions. I'm also the author of Woke at Work, Strategies to Navigate the Workplace and Progress with Pace. I'm looking forward to speaking to all of you.
Excellent. Hi Joy, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm fine, thank you.
Brilliant. But yes, so thanks very much for coming on the show, giving us your time. We really appreciate you. We've got so much to talk about, but firstly, what do you do today?
So I currently work in commercial banking. I do trade finance solutions, which is ultimately buying and selling across the world between corporates and providing the products that help people to have more trust between who they're transacting with. So it's things like guarantees and standby letters of credit and letters of credit, receivables finance, supply chain finance. I could go on and on and on.
You're so excitable about the way you say that, even though we have no clue what you're talking about. But we'll get there.
Huge corporates and multinationals know exactly what I'm talking about, and they desperately need us.
No, that's fine. We'll get into it. No, that's great. So that's obviously very impressive. And you obviously work for a major bank, right?
I do.
Which is great. Let's go back to the beginning. Where did it all begin? Where did you grow up?
So I actually grew up in North London in an area called Bounds Green.
Wow. For those people that don't know, just Google it. You'll see the news headlines. Go, carry on.
What do you mean?
No shade. Let's go.
So ultimately, I think it's a great area, if I'm honest. There are pockets, but I think it is a great area. And yes, I grew up in Bounds Green and moved to Muswell Hill when I was about, 11, 12. Grew up there.
So that's just for anyone, Muswell Hill is an upgrade from Bounds Green. Keep going. So,
okay.
Bounds Green, you did primary and secondary school?
I did. I did primary and secondary, I did in that area, yes.
And you went public school or private school?
Public school and private school, the same thing. However, I went to a comprehensive school.
What does that mean?
So public school and private school, they're one and the same. They're a fee-paying exclusive school. But a comprehensive school is a state school. So schools that you pay no fee for and everyone can go. I just thought I'd clarify because I used to get confused by that too.
Cool. I appreciate that.
Anytime.
So what were you like at school, academically?
I was brilliant. But,
Love the modesty.
okay, so my mum, she was a teacher. My dad was like a jack of all trades, but not a master of nothing. He's like a master of a lot of things. So he's like a general master. So him coming into the UK, he was the hustler. My mum, she went from being a teacher to a catering manager, all that kind of stuff. It was very much a young couple hustling in the 80s. And so they had myself, my brother, my two sisters, were a family of 6.
Wow.
Not 6 kids, 2 parents, 4 kids. And they just instilled work ethic. And it's still the same right now up until this point. So for every single one of us, our home was filled with love. It wasn't always filled with excessive amounts of things, but the love was there. The kind of grounding in our Christian faith was there, particularly on my mum's side. And just this aspiration. We saw the journey of our parents, going from the place in Bounds Green, which was a block of flats and had questionable characters around.
Questionable was a good word.
Questionable, yeah.
Very selective.
Questionable.
I like that way that dropped.
Yeah, we were poorly influenced by extra forces in Edmonton, Tottenham, Wood Green. So Bounds Green was trying to, hold itself up, be dragged by Muswell Hill. But ultimately, they just instilled work ethic, love, faith, all that kind of stuff. So I think we got a really solid grounding, regardless of what the kind of external environment was.
So, secondary school goes well academically. Obviously, you've got very good, irrespective of the environment you was in, you were still in a good environment in your house, which shaped who you were.
Absolutely.
Now, you're the oldest child.
I am.
So how did you have to ground your siblings being in that kind of environment before you moved to Muswell Hill? Because I'm assuming yes, you're the big sister, but essentially it would have been in those days quite a full-on environment.
It was, yeah, there were like parks and it was like green, and it was a block of flats that was amongst loads of houses. So basically we had a micro environment. We didn't really play out like that.
Okay.
We didn't really know many people in our local area. We had like a group that we'd go to school with, etc. But I definitely remember I remember knowing some people in our block of flats. And then when I got to secondary school, just before, one of the families that we knew, one of the girls who was beautiful but very streetwise and kind of knew how things rolled, just said, listen, if anyone troubles you, say my name and I'll be your backup.
Wow.
And I just didn't even think of what that could mean to me. You know, like, what do I need backup for? And then the other thing was another person who kind of was around our block of flats and just, you know, a presence, a force, started to teach me backslang, of which, you know, I was just like, okay, great.
Oh, so you wasn't born speaking like how you're speaking?
I was.
Right.
Actually, there's an interesting story about that. So I actually started off with a Scottish accent. I had a Scottish accent, a Glaswegian thick Scottish accent, as did all my siblings, pure, and we'd never left London. Huh? Never left London.
What TV shows did you watch?
Well, basically, my dad, who I said worked so hard, he was doing, as a second job, minicabbing, and one of the guys that he was minicabbing with was a Ghanaian guy who had married a white Scottish yardie woman.
Huh?
So she then...
Say that.
Like... I know, right? It's just so unusual. Okay, maybe not yardie, but she loved everything Jamaican.
Oh, right.
But she had a thick Glaswegian accent.
Got you.
And so her kids went to where I went to, nursery and reception. And so she kind of did, you know, like the unofficial childminding.
Got you. So that's
when
where
like
it came from.
you pick up all the kids and you're all together. And so my parents could work a bit longer. And I spent all my formative years speaking around her children and around her. So it's like, Mama, can you do it? I can't do it. You know, Orsa, you know, all this stuff. I can't remember all of it, but I spoke like that until I was about 6 or 7.
Wow.
When I stopped being child-minded. So imagine Nigerian parties, and there's this fully Glaswegian family that have never left London, never. So that was weird for a while, but then at the same time, I was obsessed by visual things, television, cartoons, the news. And on the news, there was a lady called Moira Stewart, who was this black, gloriously well put together lady.
Yeah, 100%.
Stunning. And I was transfixed by this lady. So I think subconsciously, she was my idea of how you're supposed to speak. My parents speak quite well, though they have an African accent. They speak beautifully. And also the church that I went to was a very diverse church, small community that I was always around, and everyone there was really progressive and well-to-do. You know, it was just a lovely little church environment. So all of my inputs, including teachers, all spoke well. My parents didn't allow slang in our home at all, none.
Brilliant.
So I think that combination of factors resulted in how I speak right now.
Brilliant. So secondary school goes well.
It does.
And then you go to what college?
I went to a college called Woodhouse. So with secondary school, I love my friends and they love me too. And they very much so told me, you're the one that's going to progress. So ultimately, you can't roll with us. They told me that, you know,
Wow.
It wasn't me they told me that. And they were like, you're going to go on to stuff. So like, leave us ultimately. It was the guys who told me that. So interesting.
So at that age, 16, 17.
I wasn't 16, 17. I was like 15 or 14 or 15. I was younger, yeah.
So how did that make you... What was going through your mind when you actually heard people say that about you? Because obviously you had a good home environment.
Yeah.
But you know, like with your peers,
Yeah.
to say that at that age is quite a mature thing for them to say.
It was so mature of them to say. And we'd been through a lot as a school because one of our best friends got killed in a weird way. They were into weed stuff, buying and selling it. And things got really messy. And then this friend of ours gets beaten up really badly and then goes to hospital and then dies. And it's all this moment where like 14-year-olds are trying to comprehend this.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, I started to think to myself, I do feel a little bit like I'm in a weird environment. Like I love this and I'm trying to be cool and I'm still gelling my hair and doing all the fan stuff with your ponytail. But this is nuts. This is not my life. This is not my life, you know?
Yeah.
And my parents knew as well. They were always like, the sky's not even your limit. So at that point, I was being separated as well academically. I was being put into higher sets. And my friends, my best friends, were all in like middle or foundation sets, which again is a divider, whether you like it or not. And so being in the higher set and then being the only black person, even though there were a lot of black people in my school, and just thinking, I remember all through those higher sets of English, maths, all these, I kept thinking to myself, I mean, I know I'm smart, but these guys are really smart. I mean, these are all the white people and all the Asian people. So there was something about that in my brain that they're really smart and I'm just here.
Right.
But I don't know why I thought that. I just think because the world felt like that a little bit. So in my brain, very subconsciously, I was like, they're smart and I'm just here. But I then got the highest grades in my school at the end of GCSEs.
Wow.
And so, or at least from the conversations and assessments that we had, I had the best grades.
Yeah.
And so that really dawned on me. I was just like, whoa, there's something bigger than just me being normal here. And so I got the grades to get into the college I went to, Woodhouse, as a selective school. And when I got there, me being at the top of my secondary school, I ended up in the middle there. I was now exposed to people who were so much greater than where I was, but I was also surrounded by black people in there who were like me. Right. They were like odd ones out in their schools, all super intelligent, but had a lot of friends who you would term, not in any offensive way, but like road or streetwise, regardless of how I spoke. I was always like this, like always just sounding a little bit off key because of the environment I was in. So I was surrounded by all of these amazing black people who are still my friends now, my closest friends now. We were all on the same page and we'd all had a similar story.
Yeah.
And I just worked my backside off. Like,
what did you study at college?
Economics, maths, geography, and English language. And English language was my favorite subject.
Why?
Because I love language. I love communication. And it would go into the analysis of language scientifically almost, which is how I am as a person. But I hated English literature because I don't read. It's so unusual. I don't like reading. I think reading feels like a prison to me. I'm an expressive person. I love to be in things. I learn everything from watching videos and the news and discussion and practical things. So English literature used to always make me feel so narrow because I don't think I use my imagination in that way, black and white text on paper. But language, I just got into the science of it all and how it forms, and I loved it. I could talk about English language I love it.
Excellent. So, good grades at at college, and then
in the end, the first year was shocktastical. It was spectacularly awful.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't know what came over me, but I think I felt like you could leave everything till the last minute and then just hope and pray for the best. But you see, those prayers, I don't know that God answers those times because it was you that did nonsense all the way through.
Oh, wow.
So I royally bombed my first year. But I wrote a great personal statement for the best university that I really wanted to go to. And thank God they were like, you know what? We like this chick. And she believes she's going to get the grades. So let's have some faith with her. So,
wow. So where did you apply to?
I got offers from the University of Sussex and from the University of SOAS.
Wow.
And I wanted to do economics and development studies. And in the United Kingdom, they were the best universities for that. So to get 2 offers was already an answer to prayer. It was like God said, you see, I couldn't answer it there because you did nonsense, but I'll still give you offers. There's some small hope there. So
so you have to resit as well as
of course, I did my entire first and second year in my second year. I did the entire college experience in my second year exam phase. No, I had a social life, but not as much as the first year.
Got it.
And in the end, I got an A and 2 Bs from a first year where I think I got like B, C, D, something. I don't know.
So I got
some other letter. Yes.
Cool. So you get into Sussex.
Yes.
First choice university.
Yes.
So now, obviously, did you go to Sussex? Like, did you?
Of course.
Yes. You didn't
Brighton, Falmouth. Yeah, Sussex. Brighton don't want it. All the people who were with me in that know what I mean.
Yeah, we don't.
Yep.
Maybe we'll find a translation for that, I don't know. So, question then. So now you're 17, 18. You've had all these childhood
Well, I was
experience.
19 actually at university because I took a gap year.
Oh, what did you do in your gap year?
In my gap year, I learned how to drive. And
You needed a whole gap year for...
No, in my gap year, waiting. You know when someone should give you time to speak. So in my gap year, I learned how to drive. That was one of them. I paid for my tests and my lessons myself. I also worked for a government agency. It was a tax type office, so I worked with them for a couple of months. I also became a youth worker with special needs children. So I taught them dance and did a lot of learning how to care for children with special needs. I did that, and I went to Nigeria to go and work with a subsidiary of UNICEF at the time called NAPTIP, the National Agency for the Protection or Prevention of Trafficking in Children and People. Yep. So I did more than just learn how to drive.
I was going to say.
I also took on piano lessons too. So that's why you shouldn't jump the gun, my friend. That is why.
My gun is back in the holster.
Good.
I was going to say. Okay, cool. So, no, that's really impressive. So why did you take the gap year?
I felt like the stress I had.
Oh, yeah, for 2 years in one.
Yeah, I mean, God help me. It was difficult. I just, the thought of more study, I was like, you people want to kill me. I do not want to just bail out of life this early, you know. So I needed a break, a mental break. But I'm a proactive person. I don't believe in wasting time. So it was never going to be nothing. But my father was like, what do you mean gap? Gap what? What is a gap? Who takes a gap? And so as the first child trying to introduce your parents to the notion of a gap year, they're like, what is this? So in the end, you know, after I told him my plan, so I had to really give cushioning to, because nothing existed. They gave into it when I was able to produce the first job. Like the first job, once I'd got that, they were like, okay. And also Sussex amazingly held my place for a year. So they allowed me to defer my entry, which was just brilliant.
Yeah,
so,
great.
Yeah.
Forward thinking.